Um,
So it's not just those.
We're going to have go into closed session to discuss Government Code Section 54957.6 for labor negotiations with the PCCFA, CSEA 777, ISSU, POA, negotiator Mr. Engeldinger, and also represent employees, confidentials management, also Mr. Engeldinger. Is there anyone who wishes to address the board on any closed session item? If not, we will adjourn to closed session.
Did you call the roll?
The roll's on the next.
No, it comes next.
Okay, all right, great.
Okay, the Board of Trustees of Pasadena City College is back in session. There was no reportable action from the closed sessions. So let's begin with a roll call. Mrs. Thompson?
Mr. Thompson?
I am here.
Mr. Baum?
Here.
Mr. Martin?
Here.
Ms. Brown?
Here.
Dr. Fellow?
Present.
Dr. Mann?
Present.
Mr. Pack?
Here.
Before we worry about public comment on non-agenda items, let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. Dr. Fellow, would you lead us in the pledge?
Please stand and place your hand over your heart. Repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, is there any public comment on non-agenda items? None appearing. We shall move on then to approval of minutes. We have a meeting of August 25th, August 28th, and September 1st, 2010. Are there any additions or corrections or questions?
Motion to approve.
A second the motion.
Is that to approve all three?
Yes.
Anybody have any corrections or additions or anything to add to that? Advisory vote, please.
Aye.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries. Next item is introductions, announcements. Dr. Rocha, anybody to introduce?
I did not have anyone to introduce, but I did want to just briefly announce my thanks again to the board and to everyone for the lovely reception, and especially to thank Linda and all the great people on staff who made that possible. So I thank you very much.
A lot of hard work went into that, and we're very appreciative of that. The further evidence of what a great organization this is and what competent people we have. So thank you very, very much. Anybody else have any introductions or announcements to make? Mr. Pack? Dr. Fellow?
Nothing, thank you.
Ms. Baum? Martin? Dr. Mann? No. Ms. Brown? Wow, we're moving right along here. This is great. Okay, I had public comment on non-agenda items already. Now let's, are there reports? Anybody from the Board of Trustees? Mr. Baum?
I do have a report. I spent the first 2 days of this week in Sacramento for the Board of Governors meeting. We had a very productive session. A couple of quick highlights. One is we got a final enrollment report for the past year, and the budget crisis is actually having a severe impact on access to education in this state. And just a couple of highlights that returning students are actually able to enroll, but we're losing the first-time students because of the reduction in the number of course offerings. And the way it's evaluated is the system lost 140,000 students between 08 and 09 and 09-10. And of those 140,000, there are 133,000 fewer first-time students. So those are the people that could be lost forever because they didn't have an opportunity to get into the classes. As we all know, enrollment priority goes to continuing students, as it should, but the reduction in sections and spaces because of the state budget situation has meant that there's over 100,000. Now, some of them are being shuttled off into the for-profit education sector because there's plenty of seats there, but then they're also getting into loads of debt, and that's not necessarily a recipe for success. The student population has a more traditional characteristics of age. We're really now serving a greater proportion of 18 to 24-year-olds. And actually, the number of male to female students, the number of male students is rising as well in proportion to female students. Still, majority are female. We cut the whole system-wide. There were 9% fewer course sections. And course size, and we probably know that here as well, all-time high. For the first time in history, it's over 30 students per section statewide. It's traditionally under 20 students. So that's some of the challenges. I'll be happy to share the enrollment report. A lot of fascinating data. We got a presentation on athletics, the intercollegiate athletics at the community college system. I'm going to turn over to our CEO, the pamphlet. What does every CEO need to know about athletics? A lot of good information. And then the big item is that we agreed to put forward the budget request for next year. And we're not asking for a lot, but then it turns out to be a lot. We're just asking for restoration of what has been lost over the past 2 years. So there's been no COLA, even though the state has calculated a COLA, it hasn't been funded. We're just saying, let's bring us back whole to where we would have been if the COLA had been funded. We're investing in student success and access, and then so we're going to try to also restore the funding to the categorical programs. And that's what we're putting forward to the state of California for our budget proposal. It's still, even with these things there are no new initiatives, no new programs. It's just restoration of where we would have been if we had not lost funding. And it still adds up to about $900 million a year in additional funds for the system, and we're hoping that we can have some success in achieving that. And that's my report from the Board of Governors meeting.
Okay. Mr. Martin? Dr. Mann?
Yes, I attended the meeting of the California Community College Trustees Association on Sunday. We met on Sunday and then went to a dinner with the Board of Governors, which Jeff was at that evening. And a couple of things I wanted to mention. First of all, the annual conference of the California Community College League of California is being held in Pasadena, November, I had it written down here, 19th through the 21st, and I think it would be really good if the college could have a presence there, since we won't have to pay any housing or meals and so on. We normally have, and I recall at one conference when we received an award for having the most people there, classified faculty. There's people in the back nodding their heads, and even a distinguished alumnus. So I would hope that we would do that. I don't know if the league staff is working at all with the college. Well, we undoubtedly are the host college because it's at the convention center. A couple of things that else I would like to say that I think is interesting. The session on Thursday the 19th, Jack Scott is the speaker. And then on the major speaker, which is on Saturday, Jill Biden has been invited, but she has not accepted. So, but apparently Martha Cantor is trying to get her. But if Jill Biden does not accept, and a backup speaker who has accepted is Dr. Tim White, who's the chancellor at UC Riverside. And you may remember UC Riverside was recognized as one university that has eliminated the achievement gap in the students. And that's what he's going to talk about, how they did that. So I think that would be very, very interesting. And as Dr. Rocha has pointed out, one of our alumni will be receiving the Distinguished Alumni Award. So I would hope that we could have a strong presence at this convention.
Good. Thank you.
And the other, I'm sorry, I said I wouldn't talk about it, but I do want to make also a comment on accreditation, because the league is involved in this. The Chancellor Scott appointed a committee to look at issues around accreditation, which filed a complaint with the Department of Education, and the complaint was also filed by the Academic Senate. The Department of Education sent back a letter where they found that the accreditation, the ACCJC, was not in compliance with 5 regulations. Interestingly enough, almost all of those involved trustees being involved in the selection process. The CCCT has had a role in appointing people to serve on the selection committee for commissioners, and the Department of Education pointed out that violates Department of Education's regulations. So the Accreditation Association will be responding to this, but it in a sense, it removes trustees even more from the accreditation process. So this is something that the CCCT and the league are looking at. And one of the things that we're going to do is to try to encourage more local trustees to be on site teams and to have special training for people on site teams, because we feel that's very important that trustees be involved appropriately in accreditation, particularly on the sections on governance. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Ms. Brown?
I have no report.
Dr. Fellow? Mr. Pack?
I'll make this brief. I did go to the educational master plan meeting that happened on Friday, and I'm sure that Deans Miller and Kollaross have lots of information on that, though I will say that it was a very enlightening experience, and I'm thrilled that there was such enthusiastic participation from the college community in that process. It looks wonderful. Also, really briefly, I spoke to one of the students in passing who informed me that we have sold well over 1,500 iPasses. Dr. Van Pelt, I'm sure, has more finite numbers than that. And I think once we really get this down in terms of advertising and integrating it with registration, 2,000 will be a piece of cake. So.
Okay. Dr. Douglas?
No report tonight, thanks.
Mr. Martinez?
Just a brief report. The Academic Senate conducted its annual retreat at the Huntington Library Conference Center this past Saturday. We formulated our goals for the year, and we'll be sending those forward to the Senate board very soon. The first Academic Senate board meeting of the year was held this past Monday, the 13th, and you have copies of the nanoseconds at your tables. I won't review all of those since they're provided for you. We were actively involved in the first Educational Master Plan meeting of this semester recently, and we will continue to be actively involved in the forthcoming meetings for the plan. And we are actively involved in planning, along with the Human Resources Office, the Flex Day activities coming up very soon. Thank you.
Ms. Smith?
Classified Senate met earlier today, and Dr. Mann, you'd be interested to know that the Classified Leadership Institute did contact our Classified Senate and ask us to host or sponsor a workshop here on campus during those days. So that's something we'll be looking into.
Great.
We also reviewed the institutional effectiveness policy regarding classified employee representation, including a discussion about the level of commitment and the charge of the committee, so we can start thinking about appointees to that committee. The Classified Senate retreat will be held on September 29th. Invitations will be extended to the appropriate constituency groups to also attend. We also addressed at our meeting new methodologies to raise more funds for classified scholarships. And just to preview, our Halloween event will be held on October 29th in the Campus Center Lounge, in Creveling Lounge, which is a new venue for us, and we will send invitations to the Board of Trustees and to all other constituency groups on campus.
Good, thank you. Ms. Hammond?
Yes. The Associated Students hosted their club week last week, and due to some changes in the layout and some of the offerings, we've been told by many individuals that we had the best turnout in recent years, and so we're expecting a very robust student life this year. Many of our clubs were able to recruit many more members than they have recently, so we're really excited about that. And also I wanted to thank Dr. Rocha for coming to our meeting last Wednesday. He was able to see how the board communicates. And we were also, we had an opportunity to get some clarity on some questions that we have had as well. So that's about it. Thank you.
My only report is that I attended the meeting of the executive committee of the Pasadena City College Foundation yesterday morning, as did Dr. Rocha, and a very good discussion. They formally agreed to welcome Dr. Sugimoto and to look forward to her leadership. We acknowledge the tremendous contribution of Elaine Chapman, a person who has done far more than a human can be expected by carrying on 3 full-time jobs, including that. So very appreciative of her fine work. But Foundation is excited about looking forward, excited about transitioning into raising significant amounts of money and helping PCC. So it was a very exciting meeting. Dr. Rocha, any reports?
Just brief notes. I wanted to thank Trustee Pack for referring to the educational master plan, and I'll leave it at that. It was a wonderful meeting, the largest participation on this plan process that we've had. So I think it's well underway, and we look forward to bringing you a complete interim report. And thank you for reporting on the foundation. Lisa and the foundation board are, off and running. So that's great, and we look forward to Lisa doing an extended report as they roll out a strategic plan for the year for the foundation. And just the last final note, I see Dean Olivo here, and I just wanted to recognize her and thank her for her part in putting together the memorial service for Chuck Ward, which was, I think, a couple of days ago, Chuck Ward was a counselor in our department who passed away in August, and we had a wonderful celebration of his life, which I think is very expressive of the kind of community that we have here. So I thank you for that.
Jeff?
I didn't want the evening to pass. I did want to make one announcement and wanted to acknowledge that also Dr. Sugimoto was honored last Thursday night as a honoree by the Pasadena NAACP, and we are very proud of that recognition for the district and for Dr. Sugimoto's recognition at that dinner.
Any other reports? As we move to the consent items, I'm going to say that I'm going to adjust the agenda just slightly and take up the items that come up after item G, the appointment of a trustee, to give us more time, perhaps a more thoughtful way to discuss that. So we're going to do item F, approval of consent items, and we're going to do the other items on the agenda, H, I, J, and K, and then we'll come back and pick up item G. So approval of consent items, they need to be withheld and dealt with separately. Jeff?
I'd like to just make a comment about 41B, and I'd like to pull 39P for a separate vote.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, what's your comment on 40?
I just want to express my, 41P, I wanted to express my appreciation to the administration for the new design of the report on purchasing transactions. It was grouped by project and then a little note under some of the other items, and so I appreciate that added care taken with that report. It helped me digest it much more effectively. So I know.
Attaboy, Rick. Good job.
Yeah, that was well done.
Motion to approve the consent items?
Second.
Okay. Now, you wanted to take 39P for a separate vote?
Correct.
Okay, let's do items 41 through 44B and 35 through 38P and 40P, and we'll come back to 39P. Advisory vote?
Aye.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries. Now 41 or 39P. Do you want to address that with any comments or just vote?
Yeah, I do. I just have some concerns about the number of large group instruction unit courses that we're seeking to add, especially in a time where we have so many adjuncts, faculty members that have been affected by the budget cuts, and they have lost positions. And I am convinced, having reviewed compensation loads at the district, and that it would be more effective and more cost-effective to bring on more adjunct faculty than to continue to have so many overload ratios done, especially given the budget situation that we're in. So I won't be able to support this consent item.
Dr. Rocha, any comments?
Well, first of all, I appreciate Trustee Baum's comments, and we've discussed this. Let me just say that I think it is something that we're taking a look at right now for the future. I would agree that this is probably not the very best way to handle this kind of situation. But as I reported to you earlier, in the run-up to the fall semester, we were scrambling to make sure that anyhow, anyway, we could expand the number of seats. And actually, as we looked at the cost, at least in this very, very short-term kind of situation, it was essentially a wash. Having said that, though, I completely take the trustee's point, and we have underway a very, very serious examination of LGI, and we're discussing that with the Academic Senate and President Martinez, and so I'm confident that we will be able to address the issues that you've raised.
Any other comments or questions? Get ready for the vote. Advisory vote?
Aye.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Motion carries 5 to 1. Okay, moving back then to the agenda. I'm going to skip item G for the moment, come back to that. We have item H, the policy review, policy numbers 2300, 2400, 2500, and 2520. Dr. Mann?
Yes, policy number 2300 and 2400 have been reviewed by the College Coordinating Council, and they're based on models from the Community College League. I did receive a question from one of the trustees about, and policy 2400 is combining two policies, and we used to have a list of about 20 records that were not accessible for legal reasons, and why the list wasn't there, and the reason is there's now more than 100 records, and knowing the federal and state government, probably next year there'll be 150 records. So we thought it was, people might say, well, it's not on there, so we thought it'd be better not to have the list and just say that records that are restricted, et cetera. Policy 2500 and 2520 were developed their professional ethics for management and for classified staff. These were reviewed by the appropriate groups, the Management Association and the Classified Staff Senate, and it's my understanding that the College Coordinating Council agreed that there were no other groups that needed to be involved in that because it was a standard of ethics for this particular group. And so with that, I would move approval, and after we have a motion, I would be happy to try to answer any questions.
And I'll second that.
Okay. One just quick thing to point out on the procedure, although we don't technically vote on this, we have a substitute sheet in our packets that changes only item number 1. It now reads, a request by a member of the public may be delivered by mail or in person to the office of the superintendent-president, as opposed to having to deliver it personally to that individual.
Yes, and I should have commented that the board only approves the policy, which is on the yellow sheets, the white sheets, and the procedures, which are on the yellow sheets, we do not approve, but we can make suggestions to the administration if there's something we see which we feel is not in accordance with the policy.
And that's what's happened here, and so you have a substitute sheet.
Right. Yes, I should mention that.
Any questions about any of this? Yes.
Are we moving on them as a group?
As a
Yes,
group.
right.
Okay.
Unless you want to separate them.
No. I just wanted to make a couple observations.
Okay, go ahead.
One observation, I was delighted to see the academic calendar and the procedures that, and draw everybody's attention to all the observed holidays, the paid holidays that we offer as a district. And as I count them, including days like Lincoln Day and the Friday of Spring Week and President's Day and California Admission Day, we have 13 holidays that we are able to offer to our employees. Faculty obviously are on have their own contracted days, but that's 3 weeks of holidays in addition to paid time off for vacation pay for administrators. So I wanted to draw attention to the fact that we are investing in our employees and trying to make this as terrific a workplace as possible. And I didn't want that to go unnoticed, that there are 3 weeks of paid holidays at PCC. And the other thing is we have the Code of Ethics for managers and classified. I didn't know, did the Academic Senate also develop a Code of Ethics for faculty?
There's a long-standing Code of Ethics for faculty, and we decided that it was fine as it is.
Okay, oh, great.
And there's also a Code of Ethics for students.
And the board, too.
And for the board. It was these two groups, and this was pointed out in the accreditation review, that they were the two groups that did not have a Code of Ethics.
And do we need to affirm, we're going to affirm these groups and the others we've already affirmed?
The other ones we've already reviewed and affirmed. This is to meet the accreditation requirements, really.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Advisory vote?
Aye.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item I, contract education, raised by Trustee Brown. Discussion for approval of staff time with possible action. Linda?
Well, first of all, I want to thank Dr. Rocha for bringing this item on the agenda. Since I've become a trustee, I have learned that many community colleges are earning great profits through contract education. And I do understand that our intent is to have contract education as part of our master plan. But one of the things that really kind of disturbed me somewhat is because I know that anything we do takes a process. Our master education probably would be ready by December, and by the time we get it rolling, opportunities for monies, for generating money for the district, is been taken up by other colleges that are already getting contracts from people. So what I'm trying to see if we could kind of speed up the process somewhat so that we could position ourselves so that PCC can begin to get, what's available in our community. So basically what I would like to do is move that the board direct administration to prepare a proposal to reinstate contract education here at PCC, the program, so that we could begin to position ourselves where we can compete with other colleges, which I think are taking some of what we could have had for our students. So that would be my motion.
Okay, before we actually put it into a motion, let me ask Dr. Rocha to respond to it.
Well, first of all, I'm very grateful to Trustee Brown for not only the question, but her interest in this absolutely essential issue. And, you know, as you know, and as you've said quite rightly, contract education needs to be an important part of the strategic initiatives of the Ed Master Plan. And we are indeed taking that up in the final Ed Master Plan that has to come to you by December. You'll see a very, very specific piece. Just a couple of more points, and then I will be happy to do as you see fit. One is that Vice President Jacobs has been very helpful in providing information on kind of the backstory and the history, you know, and it is in accord with your, you know, kind of summary of where we are with contract education. There's no question that there are contracts on our district, you know, in our district, that if we have the unit operated properly, we could, you know, operate those contracts, and that we can do better. And yes, it is a source of revenue, you know, as I've said from the beginning. We have some initial proposals that are coming out of the CEC and other places. What I would say, and we are pedaling fast, and I appreciate you kind of keeping the accelerator pedal down on this. What I'd say is, my suggestion is that by our study session in October, I think we'd be in pretty good shape to give you the kind of extended written analysis, and if not a final plan, at least a kind of a signal of where we're going in the next couple of months. And that would be in our second meeting in October. So, and we discussed this at Executive Committee this morning.
Okay, well, I would be more than satisfied with that, and I look forward to seeing that report in October. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Dr. Mann, item J, I believe, is yours.
Yes, we used to have a joint meeting with Associated Students, I think, once each semester, or at least once a year. And for some reason, these meetings did not happen, and I would like for us to, if the rest of the board agrees, I would like for us to reinstate these joint meetings. I found them very helpful, and unless the students do not see any purpose in meeting with us, and then that would be fine. Because what we did in the past, we had both boards. We had the AS board, and we had the board of trustees, and we heard what the students' goals were. We heard what issues they had identified, and I thought it was also a good chance for us to get to know the students. So maybe twice a year was too much, but I would like for us to consider reinstating these meetings.
Let me ask Dr. Rocha to respond to that as well, please.
Well, again, first of all, I thank Trustee Mann for raising this to our attention and reminding me, since I new on this year, of what our practice has been. I completely, thoroughly, 100% support this, and our working relationship with Associated Students is good and healthy. I think the only question for the members is when, and the only thing I would ask is, since staff is pretty busy with the October 15th accreditation report, the Ed Master Plan, but still, if if the parties think it should be soon, we'll work to that. I think the only thing to set out is the when.
What I would suggest you do is maybe you could just consult with the AS president and our student trustee,
Okay.
and see what time, because one year I thought was very good report. They showed us what their goals were, and then the progress they had met it was in the spring. It was like April or something like that.
Good.
The other time to have met would have been early in the fall semester, and they could tell us what they were looking for, but I think we've passed that. So I would be perfectly content if it's sometime this spring if it works, but I think the thing to do would just be, you would to talk with them and see what works best for them. That would be my suggestion.
I will follow that suggestion and consult and bring you back a proposed date.
That would be fine. So.
Norman had his hand up.
Did you want-
Sure. I just wanted to say thank you to Dr. Mann for bringing this back up on the agenda and making sure that it's spoken about. We appreciate an interaction with the board and our continued interactions with Dr. Rocha. We meet with him pretty regularly, so we're very grateful for the opportunity to be part of the political dialogue here.
Good, thank you. Okay, item K, Dr. Mann, disclosure of compensation for board and executive team.
Yes, I asked that this be put on the agenda when there was a lot of discussion around the state and also editorials and articles in the paper about the whole issue of compensation for board and executives in public bodies. What I would like to do, if it's okay, is pull this and hold this, because there are two or three, I think at least 3 bills on the governor's desk that addresses this issue. And it's not exactly disclosure, but it's limits, and the whole retirement system is, in a sense, being restructured. And no one knows what the governor's going to sign. You know, the Senate has a bill, the Assembly has a bill, someone else has a joint bill. I'd like to, let's wait and see what happens and bring this back maybe in November or sometime once it has been clarified, and it may not even be necessary to do this.
I don't think anyone will object to doing that. So, Mr. Baum?
I just want to thank Dr. Mann for pushing this forward, though, too, because I don't think there's anything more important that we have than the confidence of the public that supports this institution, and the more transparent we can be with the decisions we make about expenditures, and the better. So I agree that there are a number of bills. We'll see where that sorts out, and I look forward to the recommendation of the administration on what to disclose and how to disclose it so that we're in compliance with all laws. But as a trustee, I want to express the spirit that I want to get as much out there that is responsible and but also serves the public's right to know.
Mr. Thompson, if I just make comment just real briefly, this was these bills were discussed very thoroughly at the Triple CT board. The staff and the managers had taken a position of opposing these bills. The trustees, as elected public officials, voted almost unanimously to support them and to support the public's right to know. And as one trustee said, I don't care if anyone knows I make $400 a month. And I think that is, so I don't care if anyone knows either. That's why I just said it. But I think that this is obviously something that it's win-win for us, because we are transparent. We are not, involved in any kind of manipulation of funds.
Okay, then let's move back to item G on our agenda, appointment of trustee for Area 5, discussion with possible action. I'm going to suggest that we begin this with have Mary Dowell, our counsel, kind of lay out for us the procedure to follow this evening and things to be aware of, to do or not to do.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Thompson, Dr. Rocha, members of the board. This will be a little bit of a review of what we discussed last night. The item before you now is the decision regarding selection of a 7th trustee. And it is an action item. So the first thing to ascertain is whether there are any members of the public who have come to speak on the action item before the board members themselves begin to deliberate. Once you have heard from any members of the public who may wish to address the item, then it would be appropriate for members of the board to engage in such deliberations as the board members wish to engage in. You're not required to debate or discuss this, but you can debate or discuss it. So if there is deliberation that you want to engage in, you should do it at that point. Then you will move to a vote, and we have arranged and developed ballots for you to vote with. that list all of the candidates. We have a ballot for each board member so that when the ballots are tallied, the votes will be publicly announced as to which board members voted how. We decided last night that Mr. Martin, as the clerk, will keep the tally of the votes as they are read off by Mr. Thompson. And that's how we'll proceed. If after one ballot you have made a selection, you'll be done. If you do not have, if no candidate has received 4 votes after one ballot, though, we can move on to a second ballot and a third ballot and as many ballots as you need to vote. Are there any questions about this procedure?
Any questions for Ms. Dahl? Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Before I turn this to the audience for comments about individual trustees, let me just say that last evening we did meet with and interview 5 candidates, Benjamin Figueroa, Dr. Melinda Shaw, Warren Weber, Linda Waugh, and Adam Murray. I think it was the genuine feeling of certainly of myself, and I believe all board members, that we feel that these are 5 very, very fine people, excellent people, and I think we feel very fortunate to be able to have to make the very difficult choice of choosing one person out of 5 very well qualified individuals. So with that, having said that as background, let me invite anybody from the public who wishes to address us to advocate for an individual or whatever you may wish to say on this topic. This is your opportunity. Remind everybody that we have this wonderful light way over there now that flashes yellow when you're getting near the end of your 5 minutes and red when you are at your 5 minutes. And so we ask that you abide by that. We typically limit public comment on agenda items to no more than 30 minutes, and so we would hope that we can satisfy or stay within that limit. My comment always is, if you've heard one person say the same point or 2 people say the same point, you don't have to tell us 6 times the same thing. Just either thank us or move on to something else. But anyway, having said all that, let me now open it up to, we don't have comment cards, I guess, but just if you wish to address us, come to the podium and we'll take everybody in the order that they come up and listen to you and move this process forward. So anybody wishing to address the board? Okay, then not. Let me turn it open to my colleagues for comments or questions, or whatever you may wish to add to the discussion. So
Let's vote.
We don't get away that easy. Mr. Baum?
I just want to take a moment to acknowledge that I see 3 of the candidates that are here today and want to recognize them publicly for their willingness to put themselves forward for this opportunity. And so I'm just going to see who I recognize. I see in the back of the room Mr. Benjamin Figueroa. If you could recognize Mr. Figueroa for his willingness to serve. Adam Murray in the front row here, and Warren Weber. And is Linda Waugh or Melinda Shaw here? No, but I just want to thank, again, also thank you for coming and for willing to go through the process. And then just with respect to the vote itself, I was so impressed with each individual that presented to us, and I thought I could trade any of those individuals with any current member of the board, and we'd probably be better off.
Well, thank you, Jeff.
Yeah. And so I wanted to express my sentiments, and my vote will be based on not who's better or who's worse, but who's best needed at this time in the history of the district to serve on the Board of Trustees, given all the challenges that we're facing. Who's best prepared to be a part of this institution right now?
Mr. Pack? If by raising your hand.
I'll make this really brief and just say that I'll echo the sentiments of the other board members and say I'm very impressed with all of the candidates. I do regret that the ballot only allows us to choose one at a time.
You do what?
I regret that the ballot only allows us to select one candidate
Oh.
at a given time, as opposed to ranking or something else. I like so many of them.
Okay. Dr. Mann?
I would like to echo what Mr. Baum said. I think that all the candidates were extremely well qualified, and they conduct themselves very well in the interviews, and that we would be fortunate to have any of these people on the board. When I vote, I am looking at trying to select the person who I think is the best for this board at this time. And so it has more, I think, to do with where I see the college going and what I see that we need than maybe the individual characteristics and qualifications of the candidates, because they're all well qualified, and I think any one of them could do a good job. I think if we were making this decision 2 years ago, I might have voted differently. If we're making it 3 years from now, assuming I'm still on the board, I might vote differently then. But I do think, at least I am making my decision and am looking at what I think is best for the college and best for the students.
Other comments? Pass out the ballots and we'll see what happens, I guess.
Got it.
Before we mark these up, I'm going to ask Mary, when she has a chance to get back to the podium, to explain to us again clearly how we're handling this thing.
Okay. Each trustee should vote for one candidate. You can fold your ballot up if you want to, or not, as the case may be. Pass it forward to Mr. Thompson. When all of the ballots have been collected, Mr. Thompson will read the votes. We'll read each ballot, and Mr. Martin will keep a tally of it. Or would you like to have Mr. Martin read it, however you prefer?
I'll read them, and I'm sure Mr. Martin will keep an accurate tally.
And when Mr. Thompson is done reading them, Mr. Martin will then announce what his tally shows.
Pretty difficult job for you, John.
Tony's and Nolan's.
Yeah, we got them.
We got 'em.
I think I've got them all here. So let me just pick them at random here. Dr. Fellow, Linda Waugh. Mr. Pack, Adam Murray. Mr. Thompson, Linda Waugh. Ms. Brown, excuse me, I'm sorry, Linda Waugh. Dr. Mann, Warren Weaver. Mr. Martin, Warren Weaver. And Mr. Baum, Warren Weaver. So I think if, well, I'll wait for Mr. Martin to tally that.
3 votes for Melinda Waugh, an advisory vote for Adam Murray, and 3 votes for Warren Weaver.
Okay.
Do the board members wish to deliberate further, or would you like to do another ballot immediately?
Well, I'm happy to comment.
Go ahead, please.
I agree with well, first off, I agree that all of these candidates were just incredible. I was just totally wowed by all the candidates, and in particular, I sense in each candidate, as I listened to them speak yesterday, a passion and perhaps deep enough to say a love, certainly for education, and in particular for Pasadena City College. I think we're in a unique position, and in some ways there's the old saying, one in the hand is better than two in the bush, but I think we're in a situation where maybe it's two in the hand is better than two in the bush. There are certain fantastic things about all these candidates, but there is certainly one candidate that has not only the potential to do these things, but actually the proven record of doing these things. I'm referring, of course, to Mr. Weber, who spent numerous years on this board. He's been, he lost an election and yet continued on the foundation board. He continued with Measure P under different roles. He's been certainly a generous donor to all the PCC campaigns. That proven track record would speak well even for itself, but I think there's one other argument for Warren Weber that I really appreciate, and that is, of all the candidates, he is the least likely to actually run when the seat is up for election. In essence, I feel like I'm in a position where I'm making a decision for voters whom I do not represent. And I don't feel comfortable being in a position making that decision for somebody else, though I realize the law requires us to do it. So it would be my preference to have somebody who will hold the seat until the next election when the voters of that area can make their own choice, and that choice will not be favored in any way by any appointed incumbent that I selected. And of all the candidates, Warren Weber certainly expressed the least desire to continue on should that, when that opportunity comes in a little over a year. In essence, when we get in positions here at the college and we need a president or sometimes a vice president, occasionally a dean, you need the seat filled quickly, you need somebody with experience. Many times you go to a retired dean, a retired president, a retired vice president, and you rent them for a short period of time to hold you over until you can get a final selection. And certainly in the trustee world, if there was a trustee that would fit in the category of needing to rent a trustee for a short period of time who was retired and has all the experience in the world, that certainly would be Warren Weber. So it's actually for that reason that I think it's in the best interest and fairness to all the voters of the trustee area 5 that we kind of go to the rent a dean, the rent a president, the rent a trustee, the proven two in a hand, shall we say. And so I would encourage us to rethink, and in particular rethink of Warren Weber.
Other comments or anything? Ms. Brown, you look like you're...
Actually, I do. I do appreciate the fact that Mr. Warren Weaver's been so faithful to PCC and for all his hard work. But I am a new board member and I do see things very much differently. The reason why I will much rather have a new trustee and board, which in this case I'm referring to Linda Waugh, is because, number one, she has the credentials. There's no question. She is very, very well connected with community work. That's number two. And I am one that believes in opportunities. I don't believe in remaining, actually I don't believe in going backwards, but I really like giving people opportunities. We have a very good board. We're not desperate. This board is a strong board. We go forward, we make decisions. That's one thing I know. We have seasoned people here that really can carry. It's not that we're going down. No, we're far from that. We have a strong board. So the fact that we're giving a new person that's retired with 30 years of community experience the opportunity for serving on this board, I think it will be commendable. So that is the reason why I think we should bring a new board member on.
Dr. Mann?
Yes, I'd like to make a couple of comments. I heard Ms. Brown's comments on providing opportunity at the subcommittee meeting, and probably should have said this then, but I do want to say it now. All 9 of the people who applied for this position had an opportunity to have this seat. They could have run for it a year ago, as Ms. Brown ran for a seat against a sitting board member, as Dr. Fellows did, and as Mr. Gibson did. I think, in my way I look at it, I think Mr. Martin's analysis is as much more accurate. It's the people in District 5 who should select the trustee. No one of these people ran, and so Dr. Bradbury Wong didn't even have to have an election a year ago. So I don't think it's our job to provide opportunities necessarily to people from District 5. I think it would be much better for us to I like this analogy of rent a president, rent a trustee, to put a trustee who we know has the experience and the background, and then there would be kind of an open playing field. The people in District 5 can select whoever they think they want to, whoever they want to represent them. The other thing I would say is I'm not going to sit up here and say we don't have a good board. I think we do have a good board. I think we have a very dedicated and very hardworking board. But the college has gone through a lot of change, and we're at a point where I think we need someone who can immediately begin functioning as a board member. And it does take a while, even for someone like Dr. Fellows, with all of his background in higher ed and as well qualified as he is, to learn the difference between a community college, how the board functions, and sometimes that can be several months. And we're talking of an appointment for less than for just a little over a year. So for that reason, I think it's extremely important that we select someone who can provide stability to the board. And the third thing I want to say is if we look at the criteria that we all approved for this position, experience with PCC, experience working in public, I don't have it right in front of me, experience working in public committees comparable to PCC. You go down those one after the other. Mr. Weber is in a different category because he was a board member all these years. He has all that experience. So the issue is really, do we want to appoint someone who we know can function well as a trustee, who has done that and demonstrated, or do we want to appoint someone actually based on an interview? I thought Linda Waugh did a great interview. She also she has lots of good letters of support. But actually, we're not hiring people to give interviews. And so for that reason, I don't think we can afford at this time, with a brand new president, with trying to get this, our accreditation, with finishing our master plan, in the worst fiscal crisis, since the Great Depression, to bring on a new person who all the people were qualified, but they will all, except for Mr. Weaver, have a learning curve.
Mr. Peck?
If I may, with complete respect for all the discussion that's going on, I seem to be the odd one out and chose neither of the 2 candidates that are on the table. Although I will say, of the 2 that we've sort of, I guess, narrowed it down to through this vote, I will point out that on some of the issues that as a student I'm very sensitive to, technology, diversity, transportation, sustainability, I think that there was, from my perspective, based on paper and in person, one candidate who was particularly vocal about those issues and acknowledged them, and I thought Linda Waugh did a stellar job addressing a lot of those issues. I have the greatest faith that she'll bring a really unique perspective, a very new perspective to this board. I also think, too, we had this issue in the subcommittee, the selection subcommittee, of stability, and I will say it's my feeling that we must be cautious about confusing continuity with stability. They're not necessarily the same, and just because we have something that has been proven to work in the past does not mean it will translate to stability for this board now. Learning by nature is a dynamic experience. PCC should be a dynamic institution adapting to and changing with the times, and I think that there's not a better time than now to have fresh ideas and new blood on the board. I think that, because we're talking about these two candidates, Linda Waugh she exceeded my expectations in every respect in terms of areas that I would hope as a student that she would address. Again, I think that as we move forward with the educational master plan, there is a substantial amount of discussion on technology and the college's need to upgrade technology. And I think that I'll go out on a limb and say that she's the only candidate that had a truly substantial amount of background experience in that field, and that she would, again, bring that perspective to the board, which would be really valuable for us as we move forward with that. If I'm not mistaken, she was the only candidate to mention any type of transportation, which, as many of you know, is a pet issue of mine. The iPass is a really important project that we're moving forward with, and why stop there? There's so many ideas that we can look into, and a trustee that's cognizant of that and was willing to mention it in the interview, I think that has a lot of value in and of itself. So since we are going to be voting again, I would ask the board to consider that, particularly that times are changing, and again, continuity does not necessarily translate into a more stable institution. I think that the time is right for us to embrace new ideas.
Other comments, Dr. Cole?
I'll just mention something. These were all great candidates, and the two that are on the table, I think, are stellar candidates. But if you know me, I have a very big background of hiring women. I don't know what it is. I've hired more women as an editor of a newspaper and as an administrator at a university, and I'm very much in diversity. And I just thought with PCC and the population being 33% Asian, we really need that voice. But I also, out of respect for Ms. Mann, I totally agree. Mr. Weber did go for election, and if there's one candidate that the people voted for, though he didn't win that time, he did stand for election, and I respect that, and that weighs very heavily on me. Thank you.
Other comments? This is a very difficult choice for me because I have never served with Mr. Weber on this board, but I've known him and interfaced with him on my city council days and some of the interesting issues that we had affecting PCC, which is in the area I represent on the city council. And so I have great respect for him. And it's difficult for me in that sense. But I would say that I was very impressed. In fact, I was surprised at how impressed I was by the presentation by Ms. Waugh. And I think that she will be able to come in, do an excellent job. She addresses, I think, some of the issues that are live ones for the district, and particularly for Area 5. I think that she is eminently well qualified, and I think will be able to come on the board and in a short period of time learn what she may need to learn and be able to do an outstanding job. As I say, it's very difficult for me because I just feel in a very awkward position. If we wanted to have someone to occupy the seat and certainly do a first-rate job for 14 months or whatever the time period is, 15 months, Mr. Weber will do exactly that. But I'm prepared to take what I regard as a very small risk and look forward, and I would urge my colleagues to do the very same thing and to select Ms. Waugh, and let's move forward.
Mr. Thompson, I would like to, what Dr. Fellows said, I feel now compelled to say something else. I worked at Cal State Northridge for almost 25 years as Director of Equity and Diversity, and spent much of my professional life trying to open systems to women and people of color, faculty, staff, and students. I've been very actively involved in National Women's Political Caucus, who nominated Linda Waugh, and I have received many letters, phone calls, emails, asking me to support her. And I've also received many, many letters and phone calls asking me to support some of the other candidates. It's only because I feel that the college is at a place where we really need an experienced board member, and that we, in order to do what we have to do as we are coming, I would say, out of or maybe through a crisis or facing a crisis, we really do need someone who can hit the ground running. I would never in my life have thought that, given this choice where we are now, because I agree with everything Dr. Fellows is saying about diversity, that I would be supporting a traditional person. But actually, it's only because of where I see the need for stability and for experience. And we're not talking about continuity because Mr. Weaver has not been on the board for 5 years. But we are talking about someone who knows how the board functions, knows the appropriate way to work with the CEO, knows the appropriate attitude and stance to take working with the bargaining units, and we can move and not have to worry or be concerned about anything else that will cause any of this. So I wanted to say this because it's very, very hard for me. This is also a very difficult choice, because my natural inclination would be to vote for Linda Waugh, but I just can't do it.
Any other comments? Are you ready for the second ballot then?
Ballots like they used to do in the conventions.
Got them all? Okay, Dr. Fellow, Linda Waugh. Mr. Pack, Linda Waugh. Mr. Thompson, Linda Waugh. Dr. Mann, Warren Weaver. Mr. Martin, Warren Weaver. Ms. Brown, Linda Waugh. And Mr. Baum, Warren Weaver.
So we have the advisory vote for Linda Waugh, and 3 additional votes for Linda Waugh, and 3 votes for Warren Weaver.
Okay. I think we need, excuse me, the advisory vote is just exactly that. He doesn't get to
That is correct,
cast
Mr.
a
Thompson.
substantive
You
vote.
need to have 4 votes from the trustees.
Okay. Further, excuse me, further comments or discussion, or do we go at this one more time? The only thing I would add is that, again, I think we had 5 people come before us and talk, and I think each of them could be selected and in a very short time learn what has to be learned to be able to do the job. I don't really see that as an issue. Again, I'm not suggesting that the prior experience is a negative. Don't misunderstand me. But I think we have to make the decision as to whether in the year 2010 that's the direction to go, or should we go a different way. I guess I didn't expect to be in this position making these comments, these arguments in favor of this individual either, because I was, quite frankly, almost blown away by her presentation. certainly on paper, she looks eminently well qualified, no doubt about that. But I was particularly impressed with the way that she handled herself. She was congenial. She was able to engage in the give and take of the interview, and I think she will work very, very well with us and understands the role of a board member vis-a-vis the campus constituency, and we'll do that. So I do feel strongly that that's the direction we ought to go, and again would urge people to vote for Ms. Huang. Anybody else have comments, or Mr. Pack?
I'll just echo Trustee Thompson's earlier comment about Ms. Huang's ability to adapt to her role in the board. I have the utmost confidence that she will be able to integrate very quickly with this board, and that if what's holding us back from embracing that candidate is this idea of experience, I think that she has a tremendous amount of experience with public groups, and that her connection, her genuine connection with her community, which is proven both through the interview and through her resume and application, that she'll do a wonderful job from day one on the board representing her community, which I assume is something we're hoping that the candidate will do. So I really do think that she's a wonderful candidate and that she'll get on board quickly if chosen.
Other comments, or Mr. Baum?
I'll just say something, and nothing is holding me back from supporting Linda Y. I was very favorably impressed by her and admire so many qualities she has. And as do I do for Adam Murray and Ben Figueroa. I would love to have Adam Murray's passion and commitment to education as a civil rights issue working on behalf of this district. Ben Figueroa, with his long record of community service and links to the community, would bring another aspect of leadership to the district that would be very helpful. And my conviction right now is, given that we have a new president, and what we need right now, right at this time on the board, from my experience, and also thinking about the people that I represent on this board, it would be, I see that Mr. Weber is the man for the job for the next year.
And again, I do have to say that right here before me is the two people I was impressed with are the candidates on the table. So I'm very torn.
Well, it's a nice position to be in the sense of having to choose between very, very competent people as opposed to, golly, how do we get in this mess? But so that's it. So any more comments or discussions, or should we vote number 3?
I feel bad reiterating something I've said before, but I think when we're at a standstill between two competent people like this, I guess the argument that bubbles up in my mind is I don't want to be deciding this for Area 5 when I should not be deciding it, or when, obviously I have to decide it now, but I think we have an opportunity to stay neutral for Area 5 when it comes 14 months from now. We asked each of the candidates specifically, did you plan to run? We got basically affirmative from most, questionable from one who's not one of these two, and Mr. Weber's comment was that as long as there's other good candidates, I don't need this. You know, he's obviously doing this because he loves the college, as the same reason he's part of Measure P and everything else. I think that gives us a unique opportunity to let this area do what they'd like to do without our influence, and I think that's important. I'm also the guy that every time somebody brings up some state legislation that we need to, as a board, you know, put a recommendation in to support or opposed, I say, it's not my place, I don't want to go there. So this is a very consistent philosophy of mine that we save, you know, we need to not superimpose our will on somebody else's who has a fair decision to make. It's difficult to debate the qualities of these individuals because they're both incredible people. So to me, it's a deeper philosophy of, especially in the time of a tie, Why don't we stay neutral, use Mr. Weber for 14 months, and let all these other qualified candidates and whoever else is interested run openly for an open seat 14 months from now?
Ms. Brown?
I am not sure that I agree with the point that we will keep it neutral, because regardless, in 14 months, we are going to the polls. So the fact that Mr. Weaver was here before seems to be that security blanket that we may say that a lot of us are looking at, and that's okay. The fact that this individual, Ms. Linda Waugh, is given the opportunity to come to PCC, work on the board, show who she is, feel the board out, run for office. District 5 will select a candidate one way or another. The argument that these applicants did not run for office to run against Dr. Wang, it could have been just because they were very happy with the way, and I hope that was the reason, they were happy with the way she was doing her job. That's the reason why they did not run for office, just like several board members here that's been here several times because their constituents are happy with their performance. So that being said, I think I would still stick to Linda because I don't see it as a neutral ground. I see it, again, as an opportunity for someone to bring fresh ideas to the board and for us to embrace them and see new things happen. We always, I mean, this is a time we're going through a lot of changes, and we all know that. However, we have selected a very, very dynamic president, which I have great faith in. I think the school has great faith in him. So we have a good president, and we're a little skeptical moving forward. But you know what? We got to move forward. Time is changing. The board is still strong. We have strong board members here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 strong board members. How difficult can that be? I will insist that Linda is the girl.
Jeff?
I don't want to open the Pandora's box here, but we do have another option. If we are not unable to reach agreement on an appointment tomorrow, then the superintendent can call a special election and take it to the voters. Is that correct?
That's correct. If the board doesn't appoint, there will be an election.
And what is the deadline for the board's appointment?
I think September 22nd. I think. I'm not sure. 23rd.
I need to check the calendar, Mr. Baum.
Yeah.
It's very close.
Yeah,
We carried you right up to the line.
The superintendent will call an election.
Not the superintendent president.
No, the superintendent of the county.
The superintendent of schools.
Schools,
right. Yeah.
Right, too. So just not to open the can of worms, but that is another way this could be resolved. But that would come at considerable expense to the district.
That large group instruction was expensive, wages.
Mr. Pack?
I'm actually really grateful to Trustee Baum for bringing that point up because I wonder now if we have, for instance, a candidate who's not necessarily interested in running during the next election, if we were to have an election, would that candidate even run or be interested in that? And so with that perspective, should we be considering a candidate who would not run in a normal election, or should we be talking about a candidate who has expressed an interest in running for this position again and probably would run if there were a regular election?
I will put my lawyer's hat on here and say one thing, and then I will follow my lawyer's habits and keep my mouth shut. But, lawyers don't often do that. So, but I have, again, great respect for Mr. Martin and his consistency on issues like this. But I would point out that we did have the opportunity to let the voters of just of Area 5 make their choice. We opted not to do that. We put people through the application process, through the interview process. We brought ourselves on the verge of making a selection, and I would think it would not be the thing to do now to back away from all that and say, gee, maybe we made a mistake, let's go back and let the people of Area 5 have a vote at the cost of $300,000 or $350,000 or whatever it will be to us, to our taxpayers, to do that. We had the choice to let Area 5 make its own selection. We opted not to do that. So I think now it's not really the place to argue that, well, I want Area 5 to make that choice, so therefore I'm going to opt for a person to hold the place for this period of time. And again, I don't say any of this being critical of Mr. Weber, for whom I have enormous respect, but it just seems to me that this is the time to make a decision. We can either find someone to, or select someone who will occupy the seat for the next 14 months, or we can take some risk and move forward and say, okay, we've got a person here that we think is well qualified, will do an outstanding job, and we can go in that direction. So,
I'd like to defend my statement because I think you commingled it. Not talking about the candidates now, but I'm talking about my comment. I certainly want the board to choose because I don't want to knock out 25 English 1A classes, because that's about what an election would cost. And 25 English 1A classes means more to me than 14 months, okay? But that being said, and that decision being done should not be commingled or confused with my comment and my philosophy of not imposing myself where I feel I don't belong. And the way this happened to come out in the questions we ask and the answers we were given by the candidates, we have an opportunity for me to hold dear to that philosophy of not putting my nose in somebody else's business when I don't have to. So please don't mix those 2 points because they're very separate in my mind and they're 2 separate decisions. It has nothing to do with either one of the candidates. It has nothing to do with the decision we are about to make, but it's important to me that those 2 separate points are clearly understood for what they are.
well, it seems to me that the logic following from your argument is you just abstain, you don't vote. Then you don't take a choice. I'm sorry.
That is not the logic of my argument at all.
It is.
It is not.
Anybody else have comments? Dr. Mann?
Yes, I was hoping that we would not have to go down this road, not that road you 2 guys are going down. I hope we don't have to go any further down that road. But I think that in the past 2 years, the board has made some decisions that it's had to unmake, and the 2 new people who came onto the board at, in my opinion, a very bad time. And because of that, I think that there is a lot of, and I'm doing my hand, you can't see it, maybe the audio audience can't see it, but there is a kind of a I don't think how to say this. I think 2 or 3 years ago, PCC's board was regarded as probably the best, probably the most effective board in California. And maybe it's because some of us spend all of our time, or a lot of time at conferences telling people that. You know, Mr. Martin and Ms. Ray Castro and I have done workshops on the state and on a regional conferences on our norms and protocols. I have participated in board effectiveness, and I think there was, in general, a lot of feeling that this was a very good, very strong board, a board that worked together very well and did not micromanage. I think that if you look at just kind of what you hear on campus, what I hear from people who talk to me, there's a different attitude, at least on campus and the community, towards the board. This is why, one of the reasons why I said I think the board needs to become more stable, more focused on what its role is on policy. And since we have a very competent new president, let him do his job. And I think it will more likely do that if we have a board kind of getting its own act together and you have this kind of stability. I think Ms. Waugh is undoubtedly very talented, very bright. She did a very good interview, but it takes a while to learn how to function as an effective board member. And I think with our 2 new members, we did a disservice to. I think there's a lot of things about being on a board they haven't had the opportunity to learn or experience. And I just don't think I think we would be better off with a seasoned board member, particularly it's only for 14 months. If it were 3 years, of course it couldn't be legally, then it might be different. And also we have a person who said he would probably not run again. So, but I think that's what I meant when I said earlier, I'm thinking about the board itself and the college, and I think it's a time where we need stability. Just because a person has been on the board before does not mean they won't be open to new ideas, doesn't mean that they cannot have new perspectives, doesn't mean any of these kind of things. So I think we should, at this time now, I'm going to pick up one of Mr. Murray's, what he told us last night. If we look at where we are right now, this board needs a seasoned, experienced board member. And that's why I think we should vote for Mr. Weber.
Mr. Pack?
I completely agree that stability is a really important element at PCC. I don't necessarily disagree with anything that Dr. Mann is saying, although I will point out again that within 14 months, our educational master plan will have been approved. So that is something that will happen during this trustee's tenure, interim though it may be. And given Linda Waugh's tremendous experience in technology, I think that she's in a position to answer questions that most of us sitting up here on the board and off are not in a position to ask necessarily. She comes from a background in that, and she brought up points that I didn't hear from any of the other candidates, though I consistently asked the same question to all of the candidates, basically. And again, like I can't stress enough, I don't think that a new board member will necessarily translate to instability. I think Dr. Rocha is a new president, and the college is more stable now than it's been in years. So again, I will hold firm to that position and hope that others will consider that perspective from the student side of things.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Okay, so now you and I were back on speaking terms again.
We've always been speaking terms. We can disagree without being disagreeable, right?
So, in short, as one of our protocols, I want to say that I actually appreciate the opinion of the other trustees with whom, when it finally gets to the surface in the last votes, we haven't voted the same. I think, we're all different individuals, we all have different perspectives, we value things differently, and we all agree that we have 2, if not 5, incredible candidates, and this is just a delight. And I also see that we're slowly entrenching ourselves into our positions, if you hadn't sensed that. I'd suggest, but I wanted to let the other trustee know, is rather than us sitting here with the intellectual debate for the moment, just say that is our protocol. I'd suggest let's just give it one more time around, and then let's rethink what we should do from there.
Any other comments?
Can we take a break for 5 minutes?
Can we do that? Can we take a break?
That'd be a really good
You can certainly take a break. You can at any time.
Yeah, me too.
I'll take a recess.
All right, we'll take a 5-minute break. We'll be back in 5 minutes here. Stay tuned. In the session here, is there more discussion before we have another vote?
Nolan had his hand up there.
Oh, I'm sorry, Nolan, I missed you.
Just really briefly, I was reminded as I was reflecting of the meeting yesterday, and one of the things that was brought up actually by Trustee Baum is the idea that perhaps because the advisory vote functions in the sense that it's used first in order to inform other votes in most instances, that we could consider that here, not to read the advisory vote first, but to look at and reflect on the role of the advisory vote in an instance such as this, when we've had a tie 3 times, if I'm counting correctly, that the student trustee, in my role, I'm representing a relatively large portion of the college, 30,000 plus students, and their voices, and so we have an interest in innovation, advancing the technology, as I stated before, not to sound like a broken record, but that perhaps the trustees that were flirting with the idea of the student trustees vote taking a role yesterday could consider that today in this tie before we go and have another split vote, that we could reevaluate the role of that advisory vote in the actual decision-making process.
Mary, you want to comment on that, please?
Oh,
I apologize, Mr. Pack, but I'm not entirely sure what you're proposing.
Oh, no, I'm just asking us to rethink what we said yesterday.
It sounds to me like you're, if I may, and tell me if I'm wrong, but that you're urging the trustees to consider seriously the import of your vote.
I'm not asking that it be counted.
That's what I'm saying. You just want them to pay attention to it.
Okay.
Right, and so to consider the sentiments that were expressed yesterday at our meeting, just to think about it.
Okay. Jeff?
And I just want to say thank you to Mr. Pack. He's done an exceptional job advocating for the students, and I hear exactly what you're saying, and I agree with so much of your points about the need to focus on technology, on sustainability, and others. And I again will say that I agree that Ms. Waugh is an exceptional individual. I would say that from my time serving on the board alongside Mr. Weber, there was no more passionate advocate about making every decision weighed on what is in the best interest of students above all else. And that was a role model for me in my service as a board member. And so I just wanted to explain that. But you are you've done such a good job representing the students, and just if I ultimately don't agree on this vote, that doesn't mean I don't take anything you say, Ms. Hammond, or the students say with every bit of consideration, because I admire everything that you've said so far.
Okay. Well, and then, if I may really quickly,
sure.
Thank you, that same sentiment turned around. If we don't necessarily agree at the end, I still am in favor of our idea yesterday, pulling the item for a unanimous vote. I'm not trying to be difficult, and I will support the decision of the board. I just would be remiss in my responsibility representing the student interest if I didn't express the concerns I've been bringing forward.
Right, and I think what you're asking is that because you do represent the students, you're asking us to give significance to that view.
Precisely, thank you.
Any other comments or, okay, let's go for one more round. What color this time?
That's a different colored paper.
You don't want to commingle the ballots. You can count my vote 3 times otherwise.
Some red ones.
Do we have them all? I think so. Okay, Mr. Pack is Linda Waugh. Mr. Thompson is Linda Waugh. Dr. Fellow is Linda Waugh. Dr. Mann is Warren Weber. Ms. Brown is Linda Waugh. Mr. Martin is Warren Weaver. And Mr. Baum is Warren Weaver. So I think that adds up to the same identical score. September 22nd is our deadline for making a selection. If we don't meet that deadline, then the county will hold an election. So it is now roughly 8:45, and we've been at this for some time. Do you want to adjourn and have contemplate a special meeting? Do you want to just adjourn and have the county hold an election? Or do you want to stay here and have at it, I guess, being the three choices. My recommendation would be that we adjourn for the evening and give some thought to this. The 22nd, I believe, is what, next Wednesday?
It's next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday. So we could have a special meeting before that time if that's where we want to go. That would be my thought, rather than to stay here now and spend more time on this particular issue. So, views of others? Dr. Mann?
I think Mr. Baum had his hand up.
Okay.
I just want to clarify the dates. It's actually 60 days. And if I recall, Dr. Bradbury Wong's letter was dated July 22nd. But given that there are 31 days in July and August, are we actually looking at, if you count the number of days, would it be the 20th as opposed to the 22nd?
Mr. Baum, as I understand it, the county has notified the college that the drop-dead date is the 22nd.
Okay.
Am I correct, Mrs. Thompson? Yes. So
Oh.
you have been officially put on notice that
Fabulous.
that if you got to do it by then, or the county will call an election.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Well, I was
Ben?
just going to say, if those of us who are old enough to remember when you had contested conventions for major political parties would know they would stay there almost all night until they finally would elect someone on the 87th ballot. So I don't think we want to have a special election. I think people maybe need to really stop and consider what that would do, and I think people just really need to maybe consider are they really acting in the best interest of the college?
Well, that's, I mean, not to respond to that substantively, but those are the arguments that we've been using back and forth throughout the evening. And so the 22nd is next Wednesday evening, a week from tonight.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask Ms. Dow, can you do this on the 22nd, or does it have to be done before?
Mr. Fellow, I would have to check that. I think you do have until the 22nd. I'd want to see the letter that Ms. Thompson got from the county. I would recommend that you try to do it before then, so that you are sure you have a timely notice to the county.
Thank you.
I would like to recommend that the board do this not later than the 21st.
I was going to suggest we do, or if we choose to go this path, that we look at Monday evening for at least to put on the an agenda and notice a special meeting, and rather than wait till Tuesday or Wednesday.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to say, I'm taping a television show Monday evening, so I would have to be around 7 o'clock would be the earliest I can come here.
I have another employment meeting at my employment on Monday evening, available Tuesday evening.
What is the pleasure of the board? What?
Tuesday's fine at 6:30 or 7 also. I have a board meeting at 5:30.
I'll go with Dr. Mann. I think that we should try to resolve it
Hey,
tonight.
I'm happy to stay here.
Even Mr. Murray even offered to put himself forward as a consensus candidate when I talked to him during the break.
Noble young man.
So I appreciate that.
Tuesday is fine, though. We can.
Neither one of those dates are great for me, but Tuesday would be better than better than Monday. But all I see that will happen if we delay it is that we will all just be lobbied more. I know I will be lobbied more, and I don't think it's going to make any, difference.
Well, that may be true, but I guess my hope would be that given the chance to reflect on this to some extent, some of us might be open to considering other paths.
That's wise.
What's that?
I think you're very wise.
I mean, I don't see staying here this evening as changing anything. I think the longer we stay, the more entrenched we're apt to become, and the more direct and possibly contentious the discussion may become. So I think it would be in our best interest not to stay here longer this evening. We've had good discussion. We've had 3 votes. We seem to be where we are, and my recommendation would be that we adjourn and schedule to come back. My preference would be Monday of next week, or I don't have my calendar here. I think I have a problem with Tuesday, but anyway. Jeff?
My concern about that is just that such a delay would actually do a disservice to the campus, because I think it would get there would be a very politicized environment. I know there's a lot of interested folks. I see Mr. Marhines in the audience. Mr. Krause was here, and the shared governance groups are here. I would expect that if we chose to delay, we would only continue to extend this conversation and would further politicize the campus community. I think we're having a valuable discussion with philosophical points of view here, and I don't think it's ready to throw in the towel. I think as the judge, send the jury back to the jury room and see if we can reach some consensus. But I don't think, I seriously think it would actually be a disservice to the campus community if we were to extend this, because I would predict a very contentious debate going forward on it.
Other points of view? What is the pleasure of the board? You're gonna.
I'm very content to stay, and I mean, we got at least 6 colors, and we've only used 3.
Well,
I think we got the same breakdown. The 3 right. We have 6, really, is that what it said? You got
Well,
the
yeah,
tally
I got the tally sheet. I know what the next color is.
Oh, well, that's not fair.
yeah. I mean, if my experience with meetings like this is that the longer you stay and the more entrenched people become, the more difficult it is to reach any compromise. So we've had 3 goes at it, and none of the trustee members has changed his or her vote. I don't listen to comments, don't hear any openness to doing that, so I'm not sure that we gain a whole lot by staying here. Ms. Brown, you haven't spoken. Let me put you on the spot.
I don't mind. I could stay. I don't have a problem with it, but I agree with you. I'm not sure that staying here till midnight is going to really make a difference.
And Mr. Thompson, I don't think waiting till Tuesday is going to make a difference. You know, the only thing that I can see that will happen, first of all, we're prohibited from the Brown Act by discussing this amongst ourselves.
Yeah.
So what will happen is then we will, as I said, we'll just start getting lobbied, and we'll get more lobbying from people on campus, and it will just, and then, you know, we will just have to decide. That's, you know, I think we need to decide now. The issue is, I don't think the issue is going to change. It has nothing, as far as I see, it has nothing to do with the people's qualifications. It is simply 3 people think that at this point we need an experienced candidate who can bring stability to the board, and 3 people think that we have a very excellent candidate and that we need new ideas and new thoughts. I mean, that's what I've heard.
Well, I think just to tag on to that, I think the feeling about Ms. Waugh is that she would also bring stability and civility. So I don't think, at least speaking for myself, and I haven't heard any of the four of us suggest that we think that she would be lacking in either of those qualities. And I'm not sure that you meant to imply that either.
I didn't mean to imply it. I meant stability in the sense of someone who is experienced, knows how the board functions, and has a sense of the appropriate relationship between the board and the president, superintendent. I think that is a critical point, and Ms. Wall, who I was very impressed with, has no experience on a Brown Act type of board. I mean, Mr. Murray at least has been on a Brown Act board. He told us that, and he's taught Brown Act. And I think that it is different. It requires a different kind of engagement. And right now, with a new president who's doing a terrific job and has a tremendous load, and the word I heard in his remarks over and over and over again was tired, tired, tired. We're going to work until we collapse. I'm a runner. I hit the wall, and then I stop. I think the board should do every possible thing we can to assist this president to be as successful as he can and to make sure the college has the opportunity to continue to be as great as it is. And to me, in order to do that, the board needs to be as strong and united as possible. And I think an experienced board member like Mr. Weaver would do that. I'm not saying that Ms. Wall would bring in instability. I'm saying any new person who comes in, I think, would create a different dynamic, and particularly someone who has virtually no experience in higher education. She worked for what? The city. She has maybe volunteered in a school. She knows virtually nothing about community colleges, except that I think maybe her children attended them. And she's had no experience on an elected body. Like, she hasn't been a city council person. She hasn't served on a commission. So it would be unrealistic to think that there wouldn't be a steep learning curve here. This is what I'm saying. And this is not being critical of Ms. Wall. It's not negative that she hasn't done these things, and I'm sure she would learn to do them. It's just, I don't think we have the time right now.
Mr. President, I just wanted to say one of the benefits of a democracy is we can elect people with no experience. As a matter of fact, I think 9 members of the United States Congress will have no experience in government come November. And our president doesn't have much experience, the president of the United States, and he became president and did the job. So,
Dr. Fellows, I think you just made my argument. If you look at what Congress is doing and the president.
If I may, I don't know that what Congress is doing has necessarily anything to do with their level of experience. I think it's much more complex than that. The other thing that I would say, too, is that, I mean, forgive me if I am asking a pointed question, but I'm not sure that I am understanding why exactly Mr. Weber brings said stability. What type of decisions will Ms. Wah not be prepared to make, and what will she not be prepared to do that somebody with more experience would be able to do? Like, perhaps you can enlighten me. I'm just not understanding.
Anybody have an answer or to comment on that?
Okay, I'll try. It's really difficult to answer that without appearing to be critical of other people on the board, and so that makes it very, very difficult. I do think the board last year was engaged in micromanagement and became very involved in how things were done, was on the campus in ways that were really inappropriate. And I think a more experienced board might not have gone down that route. It's very difficult for me to say this because I was out for almost 4 months last spring. But I do think that there were well, let me just I think the micromanagement is probably one of the biggest concerns. And and sometimes it's difficult to know when you're going into micromanagement.
Can I mean.
Yes, okay.
Thank you for clarifying that. I guess now I see the issue that's on the table. And I wonder, though, if there is anything about Ms. Waugh's personality that makes her appear that she would be predisposed to micromanaging. Is it the experience of the board or anyone in particular that someone with a lack of experience on a public board will necessarily be prone to micromanaging?
With all the letters of recommendation that she's received from different people, different backgrounds and everything, I would not think that would be something that would be a tendency that she would have, but I don't know. I mean, it's just, Dr. Fellow, were you going to say something, or did I?
I suppose what I'm asking is the fear of micromanaging in this instance realistic?
It's realistic, I think, in that it happened. And again, I just really can't go I don't want to go too far down here, but I think there are, I guess what I'm saying is a person who's had more experience on the board will know how to support the president and what is appropriate to do and what is not appropriate. And I would hope we would never have a situation where the president is getting mixed messages. The whole thing of the board acting through the board president is not intuitive, and so that's one thing. The idea that it's not an idea. If a board member sends an email to all the other board members, hits reply all, and begins discussing an issue affecting the board, I'm just giving you some examples, that's a violation of the Brown Act. There's lots of things like that that just takes a while to learn. And now those may not sound major, but they can have tremendous implications. So with such a brief period of time, I just think we should just not risk it.
I do want to tell you, when I was elected to the water board, I knew nothing about water, and today I am one of the eminent people in the state of California about water. So,
how long have you been on the water board, Tony?
20 years.
Yeah. I hate to do this. Could I request a short break?
Well, we had one a few moments ago.
I know.
Yeah.
That's
Can't hurt.
It can't hurt.
Okay, 5 minutes. We'll be back. Okay, let's come back to order if we can, please, and back to our discussion. One thing I wanted to offer to the board is the question of whether we should invite shared governance groups or anybody from the public who wishes to fill out a card to come and address us, to give them that opportunity to do so, since we've been going on for quite some time here, and we didn't have any input from any of those groups or the public prior to that time. So, question for your consideration. Are there any shared governance groups, people who would like to offer any views? Jamie, you look like you're posed to grab the microphone there.
I was, unless anybody else would like to speak.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, first I'd like to thank you all for this discussion. I really think it's great to hear such passionate views one way or the other about the future of the college, and so I thank you. But I do want to say that I see nothing but opportunity in this moment, because I think that this is the perfect opportunity to go towards the values that we say that we embody as a college, because I came to this college because I heard that it valued diversity, community, innovation, sustainability, and all of those things are on banners that we have outside all over the college. And so if these are things that we value, I only see this as an opportunity to move toward a new direction with concepts, with just these concepts that I say that we value, because I think I speak for my constituents when I suggest that there's a disconnect between the board and the students and the rest of us that spend our days at the college. And just to give you some more of the student perspective, last year during the student government election, the students seemed like they wanted, like, instead of the old ways that student government was used to running, they wanted progress, they wanted innovation, they wanted something new, and a new student government board was elected, and now you have Nolan and I and 9 other very strong individuals that are asking for a lot of these same things. And so all of what Linda Watt values, from sustainability to technology, are all things that we are in dire need of moving forward towards. And so I urge you, those of you who are still considering the other candidate, I do hope that you keep this in mind as well. Thank you.
Okay. Are you advocating for a specific person, or are you just making the point in general?
May I? I would advocate for Linda Waugh.
Okay, thank you. Any other shared governance groups? I think the comment. Yes, Mr. Martinez.
Again, well, if I could just clarify, I have a view, but I'm reluctant to state it because I have not had any opportunity to discuss this issue with the faculty, and so I wouldn't want to pretend to represent the faculty on this very, very important issue. I would just say that certainly the faculty would be concerned about the issues that have been expressed, concerned about not having micromanagement and moving forward. But again, I will decline to give any specific endorsement.
Okay. Anyone else? Anybody in the audience that want to fill out a card and then hand that in, please? And Ms. Thompson, have the cards. It's,
Where are the cards?
there he has them right here.
What? He's going to start. Mr. Thompson, may I speak while he's filling out the card?
Yes, please.
I think probably Mr. Weaver knows as much about the physical plant here as anyone, except maybe even including Dr. Van Pelt. And although Mr. Weaver did not articulate anything about sustainability, I know the college is receiving a major award for sustainability and for what we have done. Is that not correct in Denver with next month? Dr. Rocha, are we not receiving them? And what is that award we're receiving for?
That's the College President's Global Climate Initiative.
And what are we receiving it for?
For just being general good guys on sustainability. You know,
Which would include
yeah.
which would include the physical plant and the things that have happened here and the construction of the buildings. And Mr. Weaver was the chair of the oversight committee. So I think although Mr. Weaver did not articulate maybe anything about sustainability, he has a long record here. And I guess that's what the problem here is, that some of us are much more familiar with the scope of his work, and that's one of the reasons why we're supporting. And I think sustainability is very important, and I think most of us do.
Okay, we have a, Mr.
I was just going to answer a little bit of college history. And I don't mean to articulate this as, actually, I'm not trying to make this an endorsement for Mr. Weber, but I think it goes to the point that Dr. Mann said, that obviously the ones that are supporting Mr. Weber are the ones that have been around here. Mr. Weber was extremely instrumental in the forming of the PCC Foundation. Talk about innovation. Back when nobody had a foundation, Mr. Weber and another trustee got together and started moving to create the PCC Foundation, which has millions of dollars and funds millions of dollars in scholarships. So if you want to talk about innovation, Mr. Weber used his engineering degree back in our original master plan, back with Jack Scott, walked this campus, talked about new ideas. If you look at some of the changes that we've done to save energy, the concept of the system underneath the front lawn, he used his engineering degree to work through with the architects. He personally knows these architects and attended those meetings. If you want to talk about proven sustainability, you got to talk about Warren Weber. In technology, we obviously know we're all weak in technology, and obviously Dr. Waugh is going to be tremendous in technology, but he was part of our initial technology plan, has represented us on the KPC radio station and resolved that whole issue that created and moved the station to Mount Wilson. Talk about innovation, talk about expansion. I mean, what we're missing here is a history, and the reason you see the old timers voting for him is there's just 100 stories like this that we've lived through and we know. Now, that's not to say if Linda was on the board 25 years, and 25 years from now, we probably could say some wonderful things about her too. And that may all start a year from next November. But you got to be careful when you start in these arguments, because you're talking to some people that have been around a really, really long time and have watched this man, even when he wasn't on the board, attending football games, attending basketball games, supporting athletic departments and music programs, and over and over and over again, working with staff, working with architects, resolving issues, communicating with the radio station when we didn't know what to do with it, working with the founding, creating the foundation. I mean, the legacy goes on and on and on. And so, you know, I just warn you to be careful, because somebody comes in here and says, I'm for technology, I'm for this. I mean, the guy's got a 23-year proven record in these areas. So, now, that's not to say, you know, I know some of my fellow trustees are looking upon the other candidate with some very good reasons, and she's an incredible candidate, and I have nothing bad I could possibly say. But careful when you start quoting, when you start thinking of Warren Weber as not being innovative, not being sustainability, not being technology, not being dynamic. Careful when you start going there, because I've got too much history that just says exactly the opposite. So I didn't really even mean to say that as an endorsement for Warren Weber. I just going to put out the warning that there's just, you know, the reason the three of us that have been here so long are for him is just these kinds of experiences and reconciliations and issues. He walks the campus, as he said in his interview. He just knows people. He cares about people here. That's not to say Linda won't. I'm sure she will. She has the passion. She's a wonderful individual. She just doesn't have 23 years. So, or however many years it is. So, you know, that's all. So I'm just warning you. When it comes to that, watch what you say, because I got too many examples.
We have a card that's been turned in from Ralph Hurtado.
I'll bring them to our board secretary. Mary, if you could operate the time.
I am a student, and I'm also a member of the President's Latino Advisory Committee. I would like to make an observation that I am very distressed about. This decision is building a wedge between the old-timers and people who have been here less than 3 years. I think that's a very dangerous precedent. The board has always been known to work together. I'm sort of beginning to lean towards an election, even though I think you will be very heavily criticized for spending that kind of money at this difficult time. But the wedge that I see developing is more frightening to me than even paying for the election. Thank you.
We have a card from, excuse me, Ms. Christy Rove, PCC students.
Hi, good evening. Just being an observer for my first time actually under the request of a professor here, I too am very distressed. I heard several ambiguous comments being made by the trustees as to it is not our job, end quote, to appoint this, that it is the district's responsibility. But then it was also rebutted that that was a decision made by the trustees to not give it to the district to decide on. I would like to fully believe that you as trustees have the competence to elect somebody. And it's not that you're faced with this decision to make consistently. There are elections and it is given to the district and it is our right to be able to make these decisions. But you're faced with a situation where it is then your responsibility. It is for you to step up and make that decision. Just learning tonight on who Ms. Waugh and who Mr. Weber is, I think you all are very more educated than I am as to what they have to offer and what they have offered in the past. I think, you know, as a student, I would like to see change. I would like to see positive change. I don't think you've all said that every applicant was very well qualified and came very well talked about and recommended. But I hear ambiguity in as someone stated that, you know, is this candidate going to fulfill what our college needs? I have yet to hear someone say exactly what our college needs. Do we need someone for technology? Do we need someone to implement new policy? Do we need someone to fight for a specific budget or, you know, for the faculty? What is it that our college needs? I'm really unaware as to what it is that you're asking of these candidates. And if I would feel that if you would at least lay that out, it shouldn't be very hard to fulfill that. I mean, I understand the election's going to be up in 14 months and there's a temporary, you know, candidate that's willing to just take this responsibility on for a short amount of time, but is that what our college needs? Is it just a temporary position? I mean, I don't understand how you're not on the same page, you know, and I hear, you know, the old and the new, and personally, being a second-year student, it's not my opinion to say, well, I prefer someone to be on the board for 20 years, and that's who I'm going to stand behind. But I do hear a lot of positive coming out for one candidate versus the other, and we are looking for a future. We're not looking behind in what happened in our past. I'm very disturbed that this is what's occurring. You know, I heard that I'm here at an exciting meeting, and it's not always like this, and not really as exciting as I wanted it to be, you know. I have more confidence in you as trustees to make good decisions for me as a student and for the faculty. I hear a lot of their comments as well. That's who, you know, has to live with your decisions, and as well as the surrounding community. Thank you.
Good. Thank you very much. If anyone else wants to address us, there are these cards or sheets back there. Just please fill one out and pass it to Mary Thompson, and she'll give it to me. Jeff?
Well, I think that the last speaker raised a really excellent point, and probably maybe people in the audience are not aware of what the criteria for this position are, and I think maybe it wouldn't hurt to remind the board members this was what we approved. It was handed out to all the candidates. It's been on the website. And okay, so this is to help you understand we're looking for interest and commitment to serve the community, interest and commitment to public education and student learning, knowledge about and commitment to the role and mission of community colleges and communities they serve in the context of all of higher education, willingness and ability to represent those who live in the service area, mindful of the perspective of different constituencies, willingness to advocate the district and its interests of the community, knowledge and background related to issues considered by the board, such as community needs, funding, education, district operations, ability to work as a member of a public governing board, ability to articulately express perspectives and respect the perspectives of others, willingness to work cooperatively with others and in partnership with the college president, time and energy to fulfill the responsibilities, willingness and time to engage in ongoing professional development, commitment to fill the ethical and legal obligations, qualities, background, and stature that will enhance the standing of the district and the community. My point is, and maybe has not been correctly or properly articulated all evening, is that Mr. Weber is not only meets these, particularly when you talk about, you know, experience, commitment, ability, knowledge of the community colleges of this district, of the background of the district, almost every single thing here, he not only meets it, but he meets it better than the other candidates because of his experience as a trustee. There's just no way that someone who has never even, as far as we know, taken a class on, as Mr. Hurtado just told us he is, or served on an advisory committee on this campus or any other college campus, as far as we know, can have this kind of background and experience. So in my view, what we have is someone who meets all these criteria, and we have a candidate who has had good community experience, has no experience with higher ed, as far as she articulated, no experience with community college, and no experience working with the board. That's why I think that it was good for us to, you know, for you to raise the point, what are we looking for? This is what we said we were looking for when we went out. This is the criteria that we should be using to evaluate these candidates. And I think if you go back and look at that criteria, there's nothing here about technology, there's nothing here about innovative ideas, there's nothing about some of these other attributes, which are fine. We approved these ourselves. If what we were looking for was someone to bring a new perspective and new ideas and so forth, we should have said this. But that's not what we said. We put together a series of criteria that was strong on knowledge and experience, and we have one candidate who has that. So I think if we look at the criteria we advertise and the candidates, that there can just be no question here. And maybe I think that's one of the reasons why the three of us, as Mr. Hurtado pointed out, there's becoming this wedge between the three who've been on the board for more than 3 years and those who haven't. But the time to have had that discussion was about 2 months ago when we looked at this, and Mary went over them point by point on a PowerPoint, and we agreed to every single one of these. Now, when it comes to time applying them, we are looking at how well a very articulate person did an interview.
Let me just make one comment, then I'll turn it to Jeff. What you pointed out, the criteria, it does state in the introductory sentence that the selection of final candidates to be reviewed with the entire board shall include consideration of the following criteria.
Yeah,
it doesn't say that's all that,
that's right.
that they have. So, Jeff?
I just want to address the comments both by Ralph and by our student. First off, thank you for coming forward and saying something. And I don't want to confuse kind of spirited, passionate debate with a sense of division of the board. One of the things, the hallmark from the board that my colleagues have seen from, we come from about as broad a political spectrum as possible. Dr. Mann and I don't always see eye to eye on politics and especially when it comes to politics outside the district. But we're all well committed to advancing what we think is in the best interest of the district. And I don't take the fact that there's been a couple of votes by Dr. Fellow, Mr. Thompson, Ms. Brown, as a sense that we're divided. We're all elected to have a different perspective and bring that perspective to the table. So I want to reassure everybody that however this turns out, I think we're going to move forward as a board that works together, sees beyond political differences, works across a political spectrum to the advantage of the district. And that's why I really appreciate the feedback that I get from the campus community. I have a strong feeling about who I think would be best suited to serve as a trustee and represent District 5 at this time, and others have a different point of view. So please don't confuse a different point of view on this issue as a division or a sign of dysfunction within the board, because I'm confident, however this is resolved, we will move forward locked elbow to elbow to advance the district.
Jeff, I think that's a very good statement, and we all of us have beliefs, and I am very committed to diversity. And when I look at this campus and it's 33% Asian, that says a lot to me too. But I appreciate your remarks.
Mr. Pack?
I'd also like to, I will thank you, Trustee Thompson, for bringing out the point that the criteria are including but not limited to, essentially. And I would also point out that to say that one candidate universally meets all of those criteria better than another is sort of dangerous, because when we talk about willingness to represent their area, I think that Linda Waugh's involvement in that district is very impressive, particularly in the sense that she was, during her interview, was able to cite specific statistics about the needs of South Pasadena high school students, their transfer rates to PCC, so on and so forth, in a way that was very clear. Obviously, she understood the issues well, and I mean, I would dare say that I didn't see that from any of the other candidates necessarily in terms of representing their district in that specific way. So again, like, just because one candidate may have more experience as defined as by membership on this board, I don't think that there's one of these two candidates that universally is better at all the criteria than the other.
Mr. Thompson, I think that is an excellent example of the point I was trying to make. This is what Linda Waugh said in there. The fact that Mr. Weaver was elected to represent his district, 5 times? Certainly shows more than a willingness. I think it shows that he had support in his district. And that's why I think it's almost impossible for someone who doesn't have his experience to actually compete against these criteria. That's the point that I'm making. And he didn't tell us this, but we knew it. So he has represented his constituents more than giving statistics from South Pasadena. It's not any of these candidates' faults that they haven't had the opportunity to have the experience he's had, because none of them have served on this board.
And I would caution us against using that as the only criteria, because Linda Waugh, for instance, I don't think in her lifespan could have served on this board for 30 years. I don't know that that's even possible, one. And
Tired, I think she could have.
well, I mean, to run, she would have to run at a fairly early age. I also think, too, that the circumstantial stuff that she talked about, for instance, her children are in a place now where she's not having to care for them constantly. She has stepped down from a number of positions or responsibilities that she had before. I think to say that because she was not on the Board of Trustees means that she's not qualified to be on the board now is counterintuitive to the idea of ever having new candidates. I wonder if taking experience into account so heavily is blocking us from viewing other positives about this candidate, especially given the circumstances that she explained to us very clearly prior to her applying for this position.
I do
Ms.
have
Brown?
one question. So I wonder if I'm not mistaken, I think Dr. Mann mentioned that the constituents did elect Mr. Weaver in 4 times, I think it was. But then at the 5th time or whatever time it was, they did not elect him, if I'm not mistaken. So someone else was elected. I think that was Dr. Wong. So basically, there is something to be said of what the student trustee was mentioning. So he was not elected on the 5th time. That's my point.
Jeff?
The only point I make too, I understand, and I've thought about that too. Yeah. But another way to look at it is that he was the runner-up, and then the person left, so then the opportunity to serve could go to the runner-up in that district. So that's another way to look at that.
If I can sort of clarify the comment that I made too, I don't think that viewing it from the perspective of who was the runner-up and who participated in this election versus who didn't is necessarily a constructive way to engage this discussion, because not only Linda Waugh, but other candidates who applied for this position were simply not in a position in their life at that time to have run in any of those elections before. Perhaps they didn't live in the district at the time, or it would have required them to drop a number of important things. Perhaps they were caring for children. So I think that the idea of who did and didn't participate in the election is not necessarily the best litmus test for who is the appropriate candidate in this case. Many of them expressed that they just weren't in a place to run before.
But let me try to serve a useful purpose here and suggest that it might be time for one more vote. I would offer just the suggestion that, again, I do believe sincerely we have two qualified people, two very well qualified people here. The question is, are we going to select somebody to simply, someone to occupy a position, admittedly making good contributions to the school, good contributions to the board, et cetera, or do we want to choose a person who has indicated pretty clearly that she will be a candidate for re-election in 14 months, and the people in her area will have a chance to judge her to see how competently or not she functions. And so I think that's really the choice. So anyway, Ms. Dowell, can you pass out what's the color this time around?
John knows.
Green.
That's the color we want.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Mann, Warren Weaver.
Sorry.
When our tallier is
I'm sorry.
Deep in thought. Okay, Dr. Mann, Warren Weaver.
Okay, Mr. Baum, Warren Weaver. Ms. Brown, Linda Waugh. Mr. Martin, Warren Weaver. Mr. Thompson, Linda Waugh. Dr. Fellow, Linda Waugh. And Mr. Pack, Linda Waugh. Nothing seems to have changed in the
just the
vote
color of the
tally here, I don't
paper.
think. So, what is your pleasure? Do you want to vote again? Do you want to adjourn? Do you want to call an election, or what?
Would it help if we did come back next week and brought the two candidates for a little discussion? And I've done that in the past.
Ms. Dowell has a frown on her face.
I guess I'm not entirely certain what you mean by a little discussion, Mr. Fellow, but
Well,
I think
we could have an interview with two candidates. I've done that many
you
times.
certainly
in the
could.
past.
Yes. Yeah, you could continue this meeting until, I mean, you could recess this meeting and reconvene it and ask the two candidates to make one more presentation to you before you vote again. That would certainly be possible. Mr. Thompson, what I want to do, if you do recess this meeting, is to work with Ms. Thompson to be absolutely certain that we don't misjudge the date by which you have to act. We know that the county has told us that it's the 22nd. I want to be really sure. It's making me nervous that you want to push this over till Tuesday or Wednesday. I would be much happier as your lawyer if you did it tomorrow or Friday, so that we were certain we were inside the deadline.
I don't think we would have, well, if we recess, do we have to provide notice then?
If you
again?
recess, you can, I believe, recess for up to 48 hours.
Okay, so we would not have to worry about noticing the meeting.
Right. Although you would, because you'd be inviting the candidates and letting the community know. But yeah, you can recess up to 40
Any
hours.
other comments, or do you want to try one more vote before we go, or Mr. Pack?
I would endorse Trustee Fellow's idea. I don't see anything changing tonight. Perhaps having the candidates involved in the dialogue more, or being able to speak to them a second time, would enlighten us more, or at least create a different atmosphere than this. I don't know that there's any value in staying here longer.
I don't really want to see us stay much longer, but what is the board's pleasure? Do you want to, anybody from the public want to hand a card in and comment, offer any advice?
I like the idea
Jen?
of
I'm sorry.
recessing and bringing both candidates back and then hear them out and then vote.
Jeff?
I must admit, I still have serious reservations about adjourning this meeting, recessing this meeting, because of the impact it could have on the campus community. We'll then feel compelled to get engaged in the process in a way that is in the spirit of passion for where people want to advocate. You want to encourage that. But I don't know if it would be the best thing for the district to do that.
Well, do you want to have one more go at it and see what happens, and then?
Can I ask for a recess, just for 5 minutes?
Yes.
Yes, you may ask for one.
Okay.
And yes, I
Like
will
a
grant it.
5-minute recess.
All right, we'll be back in, what is it? 10 minutes to 10. Okay, let's come back and see where we want to go with this. Yeah. It's been suggested that we might recess this and come back on Friday afternoon. I don't know how that fits with Dr. Fellow's schedule or Nolan's or anybody else. That would be one opportunity. Tuesday night of next week is difficult for me. I'd have to do it later, but Monday it would be open. But if that's what we want to do. And the question then is, do we want to invite Mr. Weber and Ms. Waugh to come and speak to us? Or do you want to try one more vote this evening and see what happens? Seem to be kind of the two choices.
I think we should bring them.
Yeah, whether
Invite them back.
Recess the meeting and then
Recess and invite both candidates to come back and meet us here on Friday.
I couldn't do it before 2 o'clock, but I could do it 2 o'clock.
So what time are we looking at?
We're looking at 2 o'clock Friday afternoon. Does that work for you, John?
Yes, I can do that.
President Thompson, as far as the administration is concerned, I'll of course be here, but I would ask that if staff has commitments on Friday, that they be released for those commitments.
We don't need staff here for those.
No, I'm
Except you.
just saying that.
And Mrs. Thompson.
Yes. But you're certainly welcome to come.
It's
No, I'm
so much
not
fun.
trying to push them away, but I know I've got them working pedaling pretty fast, so I know they have meetings on Friday, and so just in case not all staff attend, just letting you know that.
Is it the consensus that we want to recess until Friday afternoon, 2 o'clock, and invite Ms. Waugh and Mr. Weaver to come and speak to us?
Yes, please.
Maybe, since Mr. Weaver is here, maybe we should ask him if he would be available Friday afternoon at 2 o'clock. We don't know if Ms. Wall will be.
Are you available? Okay, good. Well, we'll
Saves one phone call.
assume that Ms. Waugh is available, hopefully, but we'll call her right after this and find out. So, Mr. Baum?
I want to just raise my concern, but not make it an objection, so, because I won't stand in the way of this, but I do want to say that I appreciate the passion and commitment that everybody on the campus has for it, too. I will be continuing to make my decision based on who I think is thoughtful, independent, understands the challenges facing the district, who will be open-minded when they serve as a board member, and will listen to all perspectives before making a decision, and that will be important to me. And so I anticipate a floodgate of comments, but I just wanted to say that's what I'll be looking for when we reconvene.
Any other comments?
And I think I would say the same.
Other comments? Then we will see everybody at 2 o'clock this Friday afternoon. We are in recess.